Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask the CEO with Avrohom.
IBM and I have partnered together on this podcast. The content is my own and does not necessarily reflect the views of IBM.
Today, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. She is the director of the IBM Z team, building the mainframe of the future. Currently, she leads a team of forward-thinking engineers building the ZOS operating system, focused on enabling workloads to be flexible and creating a true end-to-end DevOps experience. It is my pleasure to welcome Tina Tarquinio. Welcome, Tina.
Yes, thank you so much, Avrohom. I'm super excited to be here this morning.
I'm so excited to have you here. So, Tina, tell me, what is IBM Z?
Oh, I get asked this question all the time because I'm always talking about the mainframe and IBM Z, and so of course people say, what is it? And I like to say it's really the world's most scalable and powerful platform to run your business on, right? It's more than just a server, right? It's a truly integrated stack and architecture platform that, you can trust your business to run on worldwide 24/7.
Wow, that's great. Now, talking about that, right? So with the growing prevalence of cloud, everybody is moving their mission critical workload to the cloud. And there are terms that people use. There's the public cloud and private cloud, which many people are familiar with. And then there's this term hybrid cloud. What does hybrid cloud actually mean?
Right. I think sometimes we throw words around like that, and hybrid cloud or multi-cloud is a new term that's really been talked about. And to me, it's really a deployment methodology, right? It's really looking at where workloads should run according to their SLAs and where they're appropriate to run. And that could be in a public cloud. You could imagine you might have software that runs in a public cloud as a service, but you need that information to connect back to your application you have in your private cloud on-prem. And to me, hybrid cloud is that all those things run where they're supposed to be, but they all work together as one so that you still get the business and the business outcome and the user experience that you're looking for, right? And you want to make sure that that's scalable and reliable and provides the quick turnaround that you need for your business. And to me, that's really what hybrid cloud means, making everything work together and having things be where they belong, but work together.
Now, with regards to people moving to the cloud, there's so many different concerns about going to the cloud. There's security, there's uptime. What happens if cloud services go down? IBM uses the term 5 nines reliability with regards to the IBM Z platform, and many companies use that as well. What exactly does that mean?
Right, so that's a good question, 5 nines. So for those that aren't in our world all the time, 5 nines is really 99.999 availability percentage of time. So if you think about that over a course of a year, that's 5 minutes of downtime, right? And the difference between 5 nines and 4 nines is 47 minutes, right? And 5 minutes of downtime might not sound like a lot, but in a worldwide business, at any time where markets can spike when you don't expect them, that can be a bad thing, right? So you want your system to be as available and reliable as possible, right? And when you move things to the cloud, right now you're spreading things out from just one spot, which is good from availability continuity point of view, but now you have to make sure that the availability you expect is in all those areas, right? And so one of the things that IBM Z has done really, really well is, built this availability and reliability into every level of the system. So processors, memory, I/O, applications, all of it, drives that high availability. And the other flip side of availability is to really think about scalability, right? So just because something's available doesn't mean it still has the same response time, right? So if your stock trade takes too long, that's just barely more tolerable than if you can't make it at all. So you want to make sure that your systems are available and they're also scalable, so that when you have a great business opportunity, you can rise to the challenge and take advantage of that. And that's really the strength of the IBM Z platform that can underpin the whole hybrid cloud architecture to make sure that the scale happens when you need it.
And you bring up a good point there with regards to the stock trades, because when you talk about, like when you mentioned with regards to the difference between the 4 nines and the 5 nines, when something is down for 5 minutes and you need to make a stock trade at that moment and the server is down, you're kind of stuck. Versus if something's down for 30 seconds, well, maybe he's going to stare at his phone. He's going to think maybe his phone or his computer has a glitch. He'll try again and then it'll go through.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why it's really critical, right? And we've learned, right, that, and not just IBM, right, the world has learned that people's patience and tolerance for things not working or having the best experience right away is shrinking, right? 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, if people opened up an application and it didn't work on the first time, they might try again. Now, 80% of the time, if your application doesn't work or when you open your app on your phone, people won't go back, right? And so, and when they do go back and it doesn't work a second time, almost 100% of the time, people won't try a third time. So we've learned that, the user experience has to be top-notch right away, and that includes not just bells and whistles, but the table stakes are rising every time, right? So, and that's with, standard operation as well as introduction of new bells and whistles, right? If somebody else has the ability to click and buy real quick, then all the other vendors in that same space need to be able to click and buy real quick, right? That starts the table stakes rise and rise. So the turnaround time of what's expected is getting quicker and quicker, as well as the qualities of service from the end user as well.
And I love what you're saying, because if you think about it, many people love talking about technology. I'm a techie myself, and I love talking about all the latest toys out there. But when it really comes down to it, it's all about the user experience. And that's why I love the way you broke that down.
Yeah. We've focused a lot on incorporating user feedback from all sorts of different personas from the very beginning through something called IBM Design Thinking. And that starts in concept phase or pre-concept phase, even in research phases, right? Really thinking about what's the true end user experience, right? And so we have something, like I said, called IBM Design Thinking, and it's all driven by user outcomes. It's not create a technology and build it, they will come type of thing. It's really what's that end experience we're driving for. And, we are a B2B company, right? So sometimes we have to work with our clients to get to the C in that equation. But to us, that's really, we're enabling our clients to be successful, and their end user experience is really what's driving a lot of the technology we're putting in market. And that has a lot to do with, what are the pain points that the different personas are experiencing today, and what can we do to keep moving that, forward, so that the as is becomes the to be, which is, ideal situations for our clients and their clients as well.
And you also bring up a good point, because your bio mentioned that in your current role as director of the IBM Z team, you're creating a true end-to-end DevOps experience. And with regards to DevOps and software development, many time feedback will come in instantaneously. With platforms like Twitter today, people are not shy about sharing their latest opinions, positive or negative.
Right. So like I said earlier, trends in the market are changing quicker and quicker, right? And that means that clients and IBM and everybody have to respond quicker, right? Not just for fixing things that may have broken, but also adding new value and new function. And so if you kind of step back from that, development of your application has changed dramatically, right? There was a big shift to agile development. And while agile was a structure of how to make your teams, it was also a way of thinking that we could deliver things quicker and turn them around quicker, right? And so a quicker way to market. And along that evolved, the concept of containers and orchestration on top of that, right? And so that all became a story of, how can we develop something quickly in one area, deploy it quickly in another. And so you had started to have these layers where you really could develop, test, and roll out a new function or a new feature quickly and adapt to those trends in market. And that, so with that framework, it trickled back into, well, how do we do software development, right? And the cloud became a quick way to deploy in a container and test in a container, and then bring it back and put it in production. And so you started to see people needing this flexibility of where they wanted to do certain actions, right? Where they wanted to test, where they wanted to develop, and then where was their production environment. And so all that starts to play into this hybrid cloud thought, because it's really a flexibility of deployment and running things, where it's appropriate and efficient for different people, personas, as well as the application itself. And so software development has kind of rode this wave of hybrid cloud as it's evolved in terms of, the agile development and the containers and the orchestration. It's all kind of coming together into this uber flexible, but still high demand, mission critical environment. And I think that's what people are trying to navigate, right? Like, how do I do this super flexible hybrid cloud thing, but also make sure that like everything is top notch and runs 24/7 and there's no issues, right? Like, that's a big thing to manage on both sides.
You want to have your cake and eat it too.
Right, you want to be super flexible and efficient and run things where they make sense, but on the other hand, there's no tolerance for imperfection almost, right? And so that's what people are trying to navigate, right? And 20% of the world's, 20% of applications have moved to the cloud, right? That was sort of the easy stuff, maybe where the qualities of service were just a little bit less. And now we're looking at, the tough stuff, right? The mission critical work. How do we move that and manage the risk that comes with, moving it around and putting it in different places? And that's what's staring people, that's what's staring at people. How do they make that jump, right? And part of that is working with really good partners, your vendors and others, to make sure that the infrastructure is there. And part of that's the culture change within the organization to be able to ride that wave a little.
Yeah, and for that, it really helps to have partners like IBM that have the tried and true products, as well as the reputation behind it, to ensure that their mission critical services are secure and reliable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the backbone of a lot of hybrid clouds are becoming IBM Z, right? Because mission critical work, I mean, we run the world's banks, right? The world's insurance companies run on IBM Z, right? And so those qualities of service need to stay. And now, now our new offerings are making sure we are truly connected to the hybrid cloud world, right? With the announcement of Red Hat and OpenShift, right? We're making sure that we are connected and you can be orchestrated within the within the hybrid cloud. Everything can talk together, right? And that's really important, because moving your mission critical workload, no matter where it resides, is a scary thing, right? And you want to do that and still modernize your infrastructure, but at the same time, availability and the customer experience really truly is king.
Great, Tina. This was a very enlightening conversation. How do people connect with you?
Well, I love to tweet, so you can find me on Twitter at Tina Tark, TINATARQ. A lot of mainframe-related tweets, and I, really enjoy women in tech and different types of topics like that. So you can find me there. And on LinkedIn, I actually have a series where I interview awesome women working on the mainframe. So you can find me there as well.
Great, and I'm going to post that information to the show notes so people can click on it and get right to you.
Great, thank you.
Tina, do you have any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so I'm actually glad you warned me that you would ask such a thoughtful question. And I've really been fortunate in my life to have lots of great advice passed down for me. But I was thinking about this one, and so I saw an interview with Tom Brady, and for those who don't know Tom Brady, although I think everybody would know Tom Brady, he's won 6 Super Bowls, and most would consider him the greatest quarterback of all time. And the interviewer asked him, what was your favorite Super Bowl ring to earn? And he responded saying, the next one. So my advice is, you're never too old to learn something new, right? And the world is constantly changing, both in the technology world that we talked about, but everything else, right? And so never too late to learn something new and to really get passionate about new things and keep evolving in that sense.
I love that. What a great way to wrap up this episode. Tina, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much.